Okay, we're here. We made it. This is episode 49 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. As always, I'm here with Troy. What's up, friend? Buddy?
Good, buddy. What's up, good buddy? Hey, buddy. Don't come. No, just got back from practice, starting to record. Still taking care of the wife. She's getting along a little better. Can move up and down the stairs on the crutches. MRI looks like next week, so we should all be good after that.
Do you remember the 80s movie with Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom?
Kind of. I know I saw it. I couldn't tell you anything about it, though.
That's what I think of when I think of your household lately, is you're doing all the duties.
Yeah.
But I think you had a game last night, so I'm not sure. Did you see the Wild and Capitals, the big square up between Ovi and Kaprizov, Jedi Master and Padawan? Were you?
No, I did not. I did not see any of it because we had a high school game and I got home late.
Well, good news for us Wild fans. The Wild did win. Bad news, I guess, is not a lot of fireworks between Ovechkin and Kaprizov. Other than Ovechkin did have a really nice assist, I believe, on the Caps' first goal, but Kaprizov did nothing. So, and all the Wild goals, except for an empty netter, were scored by Wild defensemen. I think it was Brodin and Spurgeon. So,
Ovi didn't take a run at Kaprizov?
No, he didn't. But you know what's really interesting, though, is the Capitals were down. I think it was 3-1 or 3-2 maybe, and a couple minutes left, and like you would expect them to do, they pulled the goalie. Well, I've never seen this before. They had Ovi go back into the locker room because they were too afraid with an empty net that he would storm on the ice and score on his own goal.
I was like, where are you going with this? That's funny. Poor Ovi, man, just ripping on him. But I figured, well, my question was kind of wondering, Russians, they probably they look out for one another, I'm guessing. Ovi's not going to run Kaprizov.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he had him over for pierogies because it was in Washington after the game or something like that. You never know. All right, we have a lot of stuff to get to today, so we're going to get rolling. But before we do, Troy, just a reminder that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. What that means is we rely on you, the listener, to support us and help us to cover expenses and hopefully continue to produce more and better hockey card content and help us fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey hobby. Right now, for $5 a month, you can join our out of 99 support level tier, be one of the first 99 supporters ever of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, get exclusive access to our Discord, become an insider in our show, chat with us on the regular, and hold that out of 99 title forever. It's real easy to do. If you want to support our show, just go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, search for Hockey Cards Gongshow, or you can visit the show description in whatever podcast app you're listening to us on, and there's a link there. And finally, on our social channels, like Instagram and TikTok, we have a link tree, which includes our link to Patreon there. Since our last show, we do have one new patron. We want to give a shout out to Al's Card Breaks. And as we mentioned, we're going to start to offer people a little bit of a plug as our little thank you for supporting us. And Al asked us to shout out that he's a Whatnot hockey only breaker from the Midwest. Go ahead on Whatnot and follow him and join his shows for a lot of fun. You can also follow Al on Instagram at ALS _ card breaks. All right, Troy, ready for the game plan?
Okay, here we go. On today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 49. Then it's off to movers and shakers, followed by hobby news. Then we take a quick look at the current PWCC Weekly Auction and preview some of the hockey cards that are available. Next, it's off to take a look at what is going on with Future Watch autos and their values. We end the show with new product releases and listener mailbag. All right, Josh, we hinted that I didn't think you would know who number 49 was. So now is the moment of truth. Per the hockey writer's greatest player to wear number 49. Per their list, it is Brian Savage. What do you think?
Is he the brother of Macho Man Randy Savage?
I said, first of all, fantastic last name for a hockey player.
It is an awesome name.
Awesome name for a hockey player. No, I don't think he is the brother. That would be leaping Lenny Poffo for all us wrestling fans.
I feel like I've heard of him, but probably not.
I know I've definitely heard of him. I remember him he played a lot. We'll get into it, but he played a lot of his career with Montreal. So I do remember Brian Savage. Overview. So he was a left winger. He played 674 regular season games over a 12-year NHL career. And I'm just going to warn everyone, this overview is going to be kind of short. Started his career with 8.5 seasons in Montreal, then had stints with Phoenix, St. Louis, and ending his career with the Philadelphia Flyers. For his awards and accomplishments, no cups, no individual NHL hardware, but he did win a silver medal with Canada in the 1994 Winter Olympics.
Okay, question now.
Yep, go.
How many players has it been since somebody's won any sort of award?
We had Pronger. I know Pronger was 44.
Yeah, so it's been like 5 episodes. Since...
But again, asking us to remember our own show, we are pretty bad. Yeah, it had to be Pronger. Because I don't think...
Boy, the 40s are just rough. I can't wait to get done with the 40s.
Yeah, we're going to be on... next episode will be 50, and you've definitely heard of 50. So we're gonna start off the 50 train with the name you've heard. Over his career, Savage had 192 goals, 167 assists for 359 points. He made the playoffs in 7 of his 12 NHL seasons, 39 games played, 3 goals, 8 assists, 11 points.
So you're saying 359 points over 12 years?
Yep.
Connor Bedard's going to have that by the All-Star break next year.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows with Connor Bedard? And I'm buying it. I'm on the Bedard train. Just give him the Calder already. Let's do it. I've just fully bought in on the Bedard hype. All right.
They should just rename the Calder to the Bedard Trophy.
Yeah, they could do that. So if anyone remembers Brian Savage, I'm sure some of our listeners do, he was a decent hockey player, good speed, really powerful shot. However, he was often injured and never played a full NHL season, even though he got really close. His best season was 1996-97, where he played 81 games, had 23 goals and 37 assists for 60 points, and was third in scoring for Montreal that year. So that's about all I got for his overview, but we got fun facts galore for Brian Savage.
All right, let's do it.
This is my favorite stuff. All right. He is the third straight player on our list that has a gap in his NHL playing career. However, this one was not under his control as he missed the 2004-05 season due to the NHL lockout. That was our first one. Second fun fact, Savage was the first Montreal Canadian since Joe Malone in 1917 to record 6 points in a road game where he had 4 goals and 2 assists against the Islanders on April 8th, 1999. Fun fact.
He scored 2% of his all-time points in one game.
I know. It's very true. Third fun fact, Savage recorded the Canadiens' first hat trick in the Bell Center on October 7th, 1996. I think they still play. I think they still play in the Bell Center. I think that's still their home. It's probably renamed to something, but that's what it was when he did that. Fourth fun fact, on December 27, 2003, Savage scored the first Coyote goal in Jobbing.com Arena, which is now the Desert Diamond Arena, the Coyotes' former NHL home. As we all know, now they play in some youth hockey or some backyard arena. We know it's Mullen Arena in Arizona State's campus. Really nice rink, but seating capacity of 5,000 people. And Josh, I'm going to bring this up. The Wild play in Arizona in March. We should go. We should go check out this arena.
I heard it's kind of an expensive ticket, though, because there's not many seats.
Well, I'm sure it's super. I mean, they got to make their money somehow. All right, fifth fun fact. Savage was the co-owner of the now-defunct New Mexico Scorpions of the Central Hockey League while he was playing for the Flyers. That's the first time I heard a person owning a team while they're playing in the NHL. Obviously didn't last long.
Were you a big Scorpions fan?
No, I didn't even know about the Scorpions. And then our last one, and I called this one a funny fact. Maybe not funny for Brian Savage, but after several fast starts in the month of October and subsequently fading the rest of those seasons, Savage became known as hockey's Mr. October. So very good in baseball to be known as Mr. October, like Reggie Jackson. In hockey, not so much. Kind of a shot at him, but it's kind of funny either way. So that's it. That's Brian Savage. That's all we got on him. We got his rookie card. So if you look at trading card database, they actually list 2 cards as his rookie card with the RC designation. The first one is the 1993-94 Fleer Power Play, number 493. And the second one is the 1993-94 Fleer Ultra, number 472. I put the pictures of the cards in here again because on the back he looks deranged and just looks like he's staring a hole through your soul. So great cards, great back picture. I don't know if he knows what he's doing in those pictures, but they're fantastic. There are no graded copies of either of these in PSA or BGS's database. In fact, for Savage, there is only 6 graded cards ever of him in PSA and only 1 graded card of him ever in BGS's database. So we don't have much to go on. Highest sale in card ladder I could find of a Brian Savage card was actually a 2008-09 Upper Deck Montreal Canadiens Centennial card, number 134, which actually sold for $25.83 on January 9th of this year, 2023. Besides that, all his other cards you'll find raw that go for sale. They're cheap. So if you're a Brian Savage fan, have at it. But we don't even need to go down a pop report or list out his comps or anything because there's not any out there.
If we were on a college radio station, we would rename this segment to like Hockey Card Deep Cuts because this is where that kind of like weird kid at 3 a.m. goes on and plays like the B-side of a band that you've never heard of anyways.
Well,
right?
That is awesome. So a little background story about me in college. We actually started a pirate radio station. We had it running for 2 weeks. My buddy that we were in the dorms with, I don't know how he did it. He had a transmitter and we climbed up on top of the dorm and put it up. And it basically went all through campus. We called it K-Rap or crap is what it was. Because of course that's where dumb kids. It was called Craft Radio. And he handed out flyers, which was our demise because he put these flyers out everywhere that had, the radio station number. And it's actually a pretty big fine if you get caught by I think it's FCC. But we ran it for 2 weeks. And it was one of the funnest times I've ever had doing a DJ at a pirate college radio station.
So when you do a pirate radio show, do you have to wear an eye patch or?
No.
Okay. Not that kind of pirate.
No, not that kind of pirate.
Okay. Wow. That was a fascinating little Troy history. You learn more and more about you every episode. Okay, we're going to move on to movers and shakers. But before we do, want to give a quick reminder that our sponsor, partner, and friends, Stand Up Displays, have amazing custom stands that they would love to build you or 1, 2, or 3 to help you display your cards, whether it's at home or on social media like Facebook and Instagram. They just make your cards look so much better in person or in photos. They have a fantastic new product called Direct Print where you can just send them a logo, any image that you like printed on the stand, and whether it's your personal brand, your breaker, or you just got your own brand for your Instagram account, whatever it is. And you can get stands done made pretty quickly too. If you don't want a custom stand, they have some pre-made ones for like McDavid, Ovi, Crosby, etc. Some city stands too. Best news, Troy, is if you use the promo code Gongshow, that's GONGSHOW, you can save 10% on your order. Go to standupdisplays.co and check them out and all their stands and custom options. And go ahead and search them on Instagram. Give them a follow there too. Do you have an update on your little Pecorine project?
Yeah, my update is I have went back to the drawing board. You and me had a conversation. I kind of talked about some other ideas. So I think where I'm going to go with it, I scratched the first iteration. Josh did a ton of work, and I just said, nah, I don't want that. I'm going to go do something else. And so I need to send an email and ask about a display option that I would like to do and see what feedback I get. I will send that email tomorrow. I promise that.
Place your hand on the Bible. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to movers and shakers. As always, we start with who's hot. And the first guy we want to cover today is, I know he's been on the struggle bus, but your friend, Troy, Lucas Raymond, the young forward from the Detroit Red Wings. Been somewhat of a tough year so far for Raymond. Some will call it, I guess, a sophomore slump, right? So it's nice to see him have a pretty good past week. And he did. He had 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in the last 4 games played. Brings him for 2022-23 up to 13 goals, 17 assists for 30 points in 42 games played. Still only 20, so very young. And, it's not uncommon, I don't think, to have a sophomore slump. But it's pretty rough going really through the start of the season to the end of December. With his recent hot streak, though, Troy is actually now pacing for 25 goals, which would put him ahead of last year's 23 total. I don't think it's where people and collectors and especially investors expected him to be at this year. Maybe, hopefully, like in the 35, 40 goal range probably was the hope. But who knows? Maybe he'll have a really good second half of the year and get north than 30. But he's at least pacing ahead of last year's total. He's been playing, Troy, on the Red Wings first line with Dylan Larkin and Tyler Bertuzzi. So, and also on the first power play unit, so should get plenty of chances. If you recall, Raymond is a 2021 Series 2 young gun. His PSA 10 popped 1,517. Does that surprise you? It's that high?
It does surprise me at that high, and I'm having flashbacks to everyone's favorite card, the Kirill Kaprizov PSA 10. Will it eclipse him eventually? Probably not, but maybe.
No.
That seems super high for 2 years.
Well, last sold for $81 on January 16th. It was selling for about an average of $70 a month or so ago, so it is up about 16% from that and getting a little bit rewarded for his good play. And if you're interested in his 2020 Young Guns Raw, it's selling for about in the 22, 23 US range right now. All right, Lucas Raymond, who's hot. Next guy, Quinn Hughes.
Oh, no.
Quinn is the brother of Jack Hughes, also the brother of Luke Hughes, but he is not Jack Quinn.
Not related to Jack Quinn.
No. The 23-year-old Canucks defenseman has produced 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points in the last 4 games played. Season to date, Hughes has 3 goals, 35 assists for 38 points in 39 games. Now, Troy, I know this is not a math show, but it's really close to 1 point per game.
Getting there? Almost there?
Getting there. Yeah.
maybe almost 2 points a game.
No, Troy. He's 38 points in 39
I thought you were doing the 2 goals, 5 assists, and 7 points in the last 4 games. Sorry.
This definitely is not a math show. Definitely not a goal scorer, though, right? Geez, 3 goals and 35 assists.
Yeah.
Given his team is somewhat of a S show, boy, I almost slipped up and said it there, and has been all year, Hughes is still tracking Troy to beat his career high of 68 points last season. He's been speaking up, too, and taking, I think, more of a leadership role with the team lately, and has especially made news for giving his opinion, we'll call it, that the franchise did not handle the Tanner Pearson hand injury properly. I don't know if you followed that story.
Oh, I didn't see that at all.
Controversial.
No, I didn't.
I think he's had like 6 surgeries or something like that on his hand and really botched.
So I'm taking it they're saying the doctors and the training staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it too. I think it was from Rutherford, some quotes saying that the team needs major surgery and that big changes are coming. From what I've read, though, too, it doesn't sound like Hughes will be one of those changes. Like they consider him untouchable and one of the building blocks for the future. He is a 2019 Young Gun. His PSA 10 popped 1,389. Last sold for $94 on January 16th. It's down about 5% in the past month. All-time high, Troy, for this card was $474 US on guess, right? February 2021.
February 2021.
If you want his 2019 Young Guns in a raw card, it's currently selling in the mid-20s US on eBay. So far we have Lucas Raymond and Quinn Hughes, and you've got our third player spotlight in Who's Hot.
We do. Okay. I said I made it a goal for this week to find a Who's Hot that I know we have not mentioned on the show. I'm not sure we've ever mentioned this guy on the show. And maybe an uncommon name for a lot of NHL fans, but maybe I'm the idiot and a lot of people know who he is. But we are going with a Vince Dunn, 26-year-old D-man for the Seattle Kraken. And word is he is Bowie's favorite defenseman in the league. I got that from an inside source. Past 2 weeks, in 8 games played, Dunn has 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points. Again, Josh, not a math show.
Yeah.
But that's more than a point per game. In fact,
it is.
The past 2
Are
weeks,
you, though, hold on. I got to stop you. You're not having an extramarital affair with Bowie, are you?
Bowie is deranged.
What's your inside source?
I love him. It's Bowie. I know Bowie. I just love Bowie.
How well do you know Bowie? That's what we're all trying to figure
Not
out.
that well.
Okay.
All right. In fact, over the past 2 weeks, Dunn is tied for second with the most points in the NHL over the 2-week period. For the season, Dunn has played 43 games, 8 goals, 24 assists for 32 points. He is 3 points away from his career high ever in points. So Dunn is having a fantastic season. Obviously, he's having a fantastic last 2 weeks. His rookie card is a 2017 Upper Deck Young Guns, number 244. PSA 10 has a pop of 7, with the last one sold on December 20th of last year, 2022, for $97. High was $164 in, no, wrong. It is not February, March, April of 2021, but October of 2021. His raw card, $2 to $5. Again, Dunn's a defenseman. I should probably track this because it was, as we say, defensemen usually don't get a lot of love, and these guys, I think this guy's kind of older, but having a fantastic couple weeks and a good year. Like to see. Yeah. Wanted to find that unique name we haven't had in a while or haven't heard of on the show, so I think I found it.
Getting tougher. All right, Troy, there it is. The struggle the bus has pulled up, and oh boy, what was your favorite Pyotr Kochetkov moment, Troy, in the NHL?
This one did. I guess if you follow them, you probably maybe saw stuff like this coming. But man, I saw that headline, and I think I texted you immediately. I was like, dude, he's got off to the AHL. But I guess, you'll talk about it. But Carolina, they're doing well already. So
you're correct. The 23-year-old Hurricanes goalie was recently reassigned, I think, back to Chicago in the AHL. Apparently, Troy, there's 2 big reasons for this move. The first is Frederik Andersen is back healthy. So that gives the Carolina Hurricanes 3 healthy goalies. Mm-hmm. 2 of them don't have waiver rights to go back and forth to the AHL. So Kochetkov is kind of the odd man out there. And in the last couple weeks, he's kind of stunk. I mean, I don't know, right? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
0-3-1 with the 3.72 goals against average and a .861 save percentage. From what I've read and heard too, it sounds like that most people are pretty confident this is a good move. He'll go back down to the AHL, kind of get his game squared away. And given that it is the Carolina Hurricanes and all their injury issues, I think most assume he'll be back at some point this year. But wow, I mean, he was, after the whole Tage Thompson deal, he was the man for like 3 weeks, and people were calling him maybe the best young guns and best prospect in Series 1 and back to the AHL. Like we've been talking about, right? This is the life of a current goalie.
Yep.
You're literally on cloud 9 1 week and in the gutter the next week. From a hockey card perspective, like we mentioned, he's a 2022 Series 1 young gun, currently selling for about $23 US raw, not a lot of graded. So it's almost, Troy, where it was a month ago. So it hasn't tanked or anything in the last few days, given the news. I still think people are pretty high on him, but I wouldn't expect many more gains, the longer he stays in the AHL.
Yeah, for sure. But you never know. Like you said, Carolina seems injury prone, and Frederik Andersen isn't a spring chicken, so you never know.
Yeah. All right, you got the next one.
I got the next one. Clayton Keller. I think this is the first time he's been on either the struggle bus or the Who's Hot, but he is on the struggle bus. So Keller having a decent season, actually. 44 games played, 15 goals, 23 assists for 38 points. However, the past 2 weeks have not been kind, and Keller has found his way onto the struggle bus. In the past 2 weeks, Keller has played 8 games with 1 goal and 1 assist for a whopping 2 points. And I think it is fair to mention, while Keller is struggling and has jumped on the struggle bus, the whole stinking Coyotes team probably could be put on the struggle bus, as in the month of January, they did not win their first game until yesterday against Detroit in a shootout. So they were coming into the show actually 0 for January and then won last night. I actually had to change my show notes because I had them with 0 wins, but they are a team that is struggling. Team's obviously in a rebuild. Keller will have to continue to try to perform on a team that is 29th out of 32 teams in the NHL standings right now for points. Obviously, Keller is probably the best player / scorer on a team that is struggling. But the last 2 weeks, he has been definitely struggling a lot along with the team. So he finds himself on the struggle bus. His Young Guns is a 2017. His PSA 10 has a pop of 107 with a gem rate of 51%. It currently you can find sales around the $85 mark. The card doesn't sell that much, and in mid-December, it had a couple sales in the upper $70 US range. So it's around $70 to $85 is where it trails. And if you look at the chart on Card Ladder, it's like up and down right within that range, with an outlier sale that I kind of threw out because it didn't look like it made sense.
Yeah. Okay, I got a little tangent here. You mentioned that Arizona just won their first game of the month, midway through the month, right?
Yeah.
Off of a shootout. At some point in the Wild Capitals game, my daughter, who plays hockey, was watching it with me, which is usually like pulling teeth to get her to do anything with me at this point. And anyways, there's a play towards the end of the period, and TJ Oshie made it. And I mentioned her that he's from Minnesota, and she's like, oh. And then, the one thing I think that stinks about hockey, especially on TV, is the period intermissions are so long. Mm-hmm. And I got the idea. It's like, well, I'd asked her, have you ever seen the TJ Oshie's shootout in the Olympics? She hadn't. So we went onto YouTube, and it was from the 2014 Olympic Games in Sochi, I believe, and watched all 9 minutes of the shootout between the U.S. and Russia, where it's kind of a who's who of NHL guys, right? Yeah. When you come back and think of it now. And the goal for the U.S. was Jonathan Quick. But you're not a huge personal fan of his goaltending, right?
No.
Okay. And then it was, who's the Panthers goalie? Am I brain fart here?
What year?
Bobrovsky? No, currently. The Florida Panthers.
Oh, yeah. But it's got to be Bobrovsky, right? He was on the other team?
Okay. Yeah, he was on Russia.
Okay.
So the game was tied, I think, 2-2 after regulation. And I think Oshie did 8 straight shots.
They just kept sending him back out there. They're like, go out again. You scored. Go out again.
I remember watching it live, but I don't think I had seen it since then. And it's worth going back and watch, because he was basically the one guy for the U.S. after they went through the required first 3 shooters. And I think the other U.S. shooter, I know Joe Pavelski was one. I can't remember who the other guy was, but it was an NHL guy too. And then on the Russian side, they were alternating basically between Pavel Datsyuk and Ilya Kovalchuk.
That is crazy.
And it was, I think if they had Kovalchuk shoot all of the, because he was doing a little bit better than Datsyuk. The other thing though that I hadn't remembered, but another reason to go back and watch it, is there is at least 2 of the goals that Oshie scored in that, where like one went off the crossbar and just barely angled down into the net, and then there's another one that went off Bobrovsky, like off his pads or something like that. And point being here that, man, they were so close to losing that.
Yeah.
A number of times. But yeah, it was a kind of a fun moment to share with my daughter, and then fun for me to, after 8 years now or whatever it's been, or 9 years, to go back and watch.
You're like me. I remember watching that live. And I'm going to give a shout out just to War Road, Minnesota, a little town way up north by the Canadian border that's produced a crazy amount of NHL players for how many people are in that town. Their population's like, I just looked it up, 1,800. And I wonder if they've got the most NHL players per capita, because they've produced like 10 NHL players so far that have went there. So it's pretty crazy.
That's crazy. All right, we're going to move on to hobby news. Want to start with our NHL injury updates. I don't know if you saw this, Troy, but the Canadiens' number 1 overall draft pick, Juraj Slafkovsky, was just placed on the injured reserve list with the lower body injury. I looked at this a day or so ago. I didn't see how long he's expected to be out, but yeah, that happened. Also, the Maple Leafs announced that J-Rob's brother, Nick Robertson, will miss the rest of the season. After having shoulder surgery, he was trying to avoid surgery with rehab to this point, and guess they just went away and had the surgery there. A lot of shoulder stuff in the NHL right now. I suppose that's hockey, pretty typical. But on the good news front, from an injury perspective, it looks like Evander Kane will be returning soon to the Oilers. If you'll recall, he suffered that very scary cut on his wrist by a skate blade. That was definitely in an urgent situation to get him aid, and very scary. So good to see him back. And more good news too, Josh Norris. I think we're recording this on Wednesday night. He's expected to make his debut tonight after missing 38 games, again with the shoulder injury. He showed a lot of promise, Troy, when he's played. Still only 23 years old, but now 2 consecutive years he's missed a good amount of time with shoulder injuries. Mm-hmm. So that's been a little bit of a recurring issue for him. All right, wanted to mention briefly that I saw an announcement that the NHL and Sirius XM Radio announced a long-term broadcast extension. Looks like they'll be broadcasting games and NHL content through the 2028-29 season. I think it's worth mentioning because we haven't talked recently, but we've talked throughout the history of our show a lot about, especially in the U.S., how the NHL needs to expand and expose the game to more and more people and help grow the game. So having an extension like this with a big platform like SiriusXM, or if you don't know, if you're a subscriber, you can basically listen to any game.
That's
on the schedule.
I'd say this is a great deal for the 25 people that subscribe to SiriusXM.
Ooh, doesn't Howard Stern have like 30 million?
Yeah, it's big. I was just making a joke.
Yeah. So Minnesota Wild news, Troy. Your guy Matt Boldy just signed a 7-year, $49 million U.S. extension at an average annual value of $7 million. What do you think about that?
I think it's crazy, but if they see something and they figure they can lock him in now to long-term deal and save money, if they feel like he's going to be worth more than that down the road, I don't fault the Wild for taking a shot.
Mm-hmm. I saw something, and I'm going off memory here, in the Wild Capitals game last night when they were talking about on the broadcast. They threw up a graphic, and I can't remember exactly the time frame. I think it was in the last 4 drafts or 3 drafts, something like that, that he is second in points per game at like 0.76 points per game behind Matty Beniers. It just doesn't seem like he produces that much watching the Wild on basically every game. But yeah, it is crazy in a very, very small sample size. So for the season, he's got 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 points in 42 games played. So it looks like he'll be a 25 goal, 60 point guy. God, did they get $50 million contracts?
You're betting on his future. You're betting on the hype. It's like hockey cards. They're just taking it to another level with the salary. And I just had to do this. I looked up Sirius XM subscribers, 34 million. So
boom.
But good chunk of people.
So yeah, it'll be they need someone to produce. So and definitely they're going to be expecting him at that contract he's going to need to be hopefully a 35, 40 goal guy at some point.
Yep.
Just a quick note on last week's NHL 3 Stars of the Week. Martin Jones was the first star. The Kraken goaltender went 3-0-0. Second star, we talked about Lucas Raymond and Who's Hot. He had 7 points in 3 games played. And third star, your guy, Troy, Nikita Kucherov. Going back to a Gong Show deep cut, if anyone remembers the story around him, he also had 7 points in 3 games played.
Yep, it looks like he's in the running for that Norris Trophy. I love it. That's the deep cut.
Okay.
No angry emails. I don't want any angry messages. I know he's not a defenseman.
Last thing in hobby news is, did you see that the PSA December grading report came out?
I did.
So Hockey Cards was fourth in grading popularity for sports, behind, I think, Pokemon was number 1 overall.
Yep.
But first was baseball, then basketball, then football, then hockey. What was really crazy to me and fascinating, Troy, is that within the top 10 most submitted sports cards, there were 2 hockey cards for December. You're either staring at the notes or you're not, but do you know any guesses what those would be?
Oh, I'm staring at the notes.
Okay.
I would have guessed the second one you're going to name. I would have guessed the first one. I wouldn't have guessed it.
So at number 10, so in the 10 most popular sports cards of any kind, so it could be a Michael Jordan card or Ken Griffey Jr., whatever, right? Tom Brady, was the 2021 Mo Sider Young Guns. Boy, there's still a lot of Mo Sider steam, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just look at those pop counts. They're just, oh my gosh, it's just going to keep going up and up. At what point does it make sense not to even, if you submit them anymore?
Yeah, his pop count right now is 1,594 with a gem rate of 65%, which is a kind of a big number.
Yeah.
And the gem rate is crazy, right? If you compare that to... We just did a post today on Series 1 for 2022, the very, very early results, and there's nobody over 40%, I don't think. Right? But these Series 2 guys from last year all have really high gem rates, which means that Upper Deck QC was spot on. And whether that's a good thing or bad thing from the hobby, I don't know. I actually think that lower gem rates are a better thing for the hobby long term. That's my opinion. At number 2, the second most submitted sports card.
I know I would have got this player. I had no way I'd have guessed it's the number 2 overall submitted sports card though.
the 2021 Cole Caulfield Young Guns. Now, here's the difference in gem rate, right? So current pop count for Caulfield is 1,012, but it's a gem rate of 36% compared to 65% for Mo Sider. He was a Series 1 guy, of course, as we mentioned. Kind of the Young Gun pole position, right? Card number 201. Been awesome this year, and his pricing is reflecting it. It's been selling, Troy, like in the 450 to 475 US range.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, though, if his pop count hits 2,000 plus in the next year, even if he continues to play really well, that's got to start to put downward pressure on value, though, right?
And that pop count is over. Like, that's not just PSA 10, or that's total graded?
That's just PSA 10.
Oh, that's just PSA 10. Okay. Yes, agree 100%. That's got to put downward pressure on it.
Okay, so then my question for you is if you now have a Young Gun or a Caulfield Young Gun PSA 10, it's worth, let's say, $450, $475, depending on the day. What do you do, Troy? Are you of the mind where, again, knowing it was the number 2 submitted card in December of all sports cards, so those aren't even on the pop report yet. Whatever was submitted in September, your December is coming, right? Do you sell that card now, expecting maybe to buy it back 3-4 months from now for $100, $150 less?
I just sell and take my profit. I'm out. I'm going to take.
I'm saying even taking the perspective, you're a Caulfield guy, and it's a card that ultimately you want in your PC. Would you try to sell it and maybe buy it back 6 months from now when the pop count's 2,200 for $300? Or are you more concerned that he's going to continue to play off the charts and it could be worth $700 6 months?
I would take the route of selling now and buying back. However, in a mailbag question, I'm going to contradict myself. But that's what I would do. Unless you think, obviously, like you said, that he's going to keep playing very well and keep going up and up and up in points and, superstardom, then maybe you won't have a chance to buy it back at the same price. But personally, I would sell and then try to buy back.
I think I would go that route too.
And I'll give you a little update. I have in my hand, I'm showing you, I have a Caulfield Young Guns that I got in a break it looks really, really nice, like super, super nice. So I might submit this one I might do the vault thing. I'm going to try that and do a grading on it and see how it turns out. Obviously, it's not good. I don't think PWCC does PSA, but they do SGC, right? And
they do SGC, CSG, and BGS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I might do that. More to come later.
You don't want to go for the black label with BGS if you think it's good, Trey.
I'm just Beckett. It just makes me sad when I go to their website. They have a great news site. Their news site, fantastic. But here's the PWCC plug. If you submit and vault it through PWCC, you don't have to even use the Beckett website. You just send it to PWCC. That's a good point. A good point. I do not. No, I'm not going to go for a black label.
All right. Well, oh, ye of little faith, I guess. Another note from the PSA in their December submission report is they have the top 5 hockey players for, cards that are submitted. So it's not just one card. It could be a whole mix of card. Number 5, Troy, your guy, Kirill Kaprizov. I think he was down a little bit. Dollar Bill Kirill. I actually have a PSA 10 pop count update for you, Troy. I know that this is very exciting. This card is close to a major, major milestone. This is getting serious now. Current PSA 10 pop count for the 2020 Kirill Kaprizov Young Guns is at 2,970.
Wow.
A mere 30 away from 3,000.
When will it ever stop? When will the trend slow down? Stop submitting that card, people.
So, Troy, as a proud owner of this card...
I'm a proud owner of this card.
How are you planning to celebrate hitting the 3,000 pop count milestone?
I don't know. Just look at it in my collection and card ladder and watch the price keep going down and saying, well, nice try.
Speaking of deep cuts, I went a little bit deeper, too, here. You know that I'm a research fan, right? I like to do research. And here's what I found out about your card tray. To date, there's been 4,355 Kaprizov base Young Gun sales to date.
Okay.
At the roughly $750 you spent for your PSA 10, where the current value is about $279 US, your purchase was in the top 0.5% of all buyers who have paid the most for this car.
I should feel good about that.
Yeah, don't feel too bad, though. There were 19 people that spent more than
19.
I just thought you might want to have that information for your records. And you're kind of a top 5%er now for Kaprizov, Young Gun, PSA 10.
Yeah.
And does that give you like special voting rights? So when they celebrate 3,000, do you get like a say where the party's held? Do you get to pick an appetizer?
I don't know.
What happens here?
I should just sell it, take the loss, and write it off on my taxes, I guess.
There you go. So Kaprizov was number 5, most submitted player. Number 4, Ovi Ovechkin. Number 3, Cole Caulfield. Number 2, Connor McDavid. And number 1, the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Any surprises for you in the top 5?
I thought 3 and 4 might be flipped. I thought Ovechkin would be higher than Caulfield, but no, makes sense to me.
Is the J-Rob run over? No J-Rob for most submitted in December.
Well, yeah. I mean, the hype, the super fast, hype train has kind of slowed down a little, which we expected.
Well, that's it for the PSA December grading report. We're going to move on now to our weekly PWCC Weekly Auction preview. First of all, we want to thank PWCC, which is Gongshow partner and sponsor, for their support, not only of us, but the hobby content producers in general, and specifically in the hockey hobby. They're very active and supportive of folks like us, and it's an amazing thing, and very, very grateful for that. The new PWCC Weekly Auction is live. It's on their website at pwccmarketplace.com. We encourage you to check it out because there's always some really cool cards listed, and they do not disappoint this week. So as always, we picked out a couple of cards that are interesting to us, and I'll take the first one. It's a 1984 OPC Stevie Y, the captain, Steve Yzerman, BGS 10 pristine. So while you're too chicken to go for a BGS 10, this person was not, and it's not a black label. It's so it's 3 10s and 1 9.5. The 10s are on the corners, edges, and centering. 9.5s on the surface. Pop count of the 84 OPC Stevie Y BGS 10 surprised me a little bit, Troy. It's actually 26. There are 2 black labels in addition to that, so 28 total. I don't know, man. Why did I pick it? To me, this is one of the grail cards, right? If you could get a BGS 10 84 OPC Yzerman. He's, of course, one of the NHL's all-time greats. The captain, the longest-serving captain in league history for 19 years. Virtually synonymous with the Detroit Red Wings, an original 6 franchise, of course. He's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. And Troy, Stevie Y has been named to every Hall of Fame that's ever existed. Check this out. He's in the NHL Hockey Hall of Fame. He's in the Michigan Hall of Fame. He's in the Ottawa Hall of Fame. He's in the Canada Sports Hall of Fame. And he's in the IIHF Hall of Fame. I forgot to update with current bid. Can you
$3,700? But so that's the bid, $3,700 US. But is he in the Triple Gold Club?
Don't even. I'm going to get emotional if we start talking about that.
I don't even know if he is.
Probably not. All-time high sale for this card was $8,100 US this past April. So, man, if you get it for $4,000 or something, go on and bid.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's going. I'm guessing that's going up.
So here's another Gong Show first, right? Our next highlight is not a card; it's a pack. I'm not sure we've talked about any packs so far on our show, but keeping with the 1984 OPC theme, they have an 84 OPC hockey sealed wax pack PSA 10 in the auction. Have you ever bought a graded pack or a sealed pack of any kind, Trey?
I have not. I really struggle. I think the only way I would buy it is if I thought it was like a very, very cool art piece and you'd kind of like either hang up or display. I have no interest in a sealed wax pack graded for like investment purposes or flipping purposes. I think it's just a display piece.
So if you bought a pack, what you're saying is that you might display it on like a custom stand that a stand-up displays would make and use 10%.
Exactly.
Save 10% by using the code Gongshow.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yep.
Well, so when I saw this, one of the first things that came to mind, because I'm not a sealed pack expert by any means, is what makes a pack a PSA 10, right? So I went onto the interwebs and did a little research. First of all, I went to PSA and looked at, like, here's what they, like, their overall statement for grading standards when looking at packs is they look at where the corners, edges of the wrapper, or staining and toning of the wrapper. I don't know what that means. Will contribute to the grade. Specifically,
I mean, it's just the color, like the coloring. You don't see like
someone
didn't drop like their milk or like spill milk on it. Now it's like kind of miscolored.
I got you. Okay, so then from PSA 10, here's the criteria for a PSA 10 unopened pack. It's a little bit long-winded, but I'll get through it quickly. A PSA 10 Gem Mint pack is a virtually perfect pack that should exhibit pristine corners and edges, which are free of any holes, tears, or wear of any sort, including not having any wear on the corner folds. The seal on the reverse must be virtually undisturbed and free of any soiling or toning. The sealed folds in the reverse must also lay flush to the pack and not exhibit any lift from the seal. In addition, the pack must be fresh. Oh, God. Here's where pack fresh comes from. In appearance and free of any water or mildew damage to the wrapper or gum in order to qualify for this grade. There may be an allowance made for small printing imperfection as long as the pack still shows superb eye appeal. So that's your grading. That's what the PSA 10 grading criteria for a pack.
There's one word I do not like in there, virtually. That is one of the most legalese, words you can use if you ever see things that say virtually. That's them just basically putting that word in there. That means they can basically say whatever they want if it ever a lawsuit came up or anything. Virtually is a very loaded word.
Sure. So I did a little bit more research in Pop Report, and there is actually a PSA Pop Report for graded packs, which I guess makes sense. There's been 583 unopened 1984 OPG hockey wax packs that have been submitted to PSA. There's 33 PSA 10. So the one at auction at the PWCC Weekly is 1 out of 33. That's a gem rate of about 5.5%, Troy. Notable rookies in 1984 OPG are Stevie Y, who we just talked about, Pat LaFontaine, Doug Gilmour, Chris Chelios, and Cam Neely. So that's a pretty loaded class of rookies. Okay, I need to take like a tiny tangent here. I remember growing up and being young and collecting cards that Cam Neely was a big chase.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to last the test of time, though, huh?
I don't think so. I mean, he was also one of those guys. I think he had terrible knees. I think he had knee injuries, shortened career.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But Cam Neely, I remember him being a big deal when I was a kid. And I had one of my best friends was a Boston Bruins fan, and he loved Cam Neely. So I kind of got a little more insight from him always talking about Cam Neely.
I don't think this is like almost our 50th episode. I don't think we've mentioned him yet.
I don't think so.
It's kind of crazy.
You mean legendary actor Cam Neely?
Dumb
and Dumber, right?
Yeah. So this is definitely not a pack to open. You're buying it as an investment, or if you're going to display it like Troy with the stand-up displays where he saves 10% using the promo code Gongshow. Last one sold on June 19th, 2022 at REA Auction House for a record high of $360 US. It's a lot of money for a pack.
Yeah, seems like it.
What's the current bid at, Troy?
$76 US.
I have to get in on that. Okay, next one then I have a couple more, and then we'll turn it over to Troy, we're going to go back to hockey cards now. This is a 2012 Fleer Retro Wayne Gretzky Noise Boys insert. It's a PSA 10. I'm actually a huge Noise Boys fanboy. This card is awesome. Go to PWCC if you've never seen it and check it out. And it's Noise is Noyz and Boys Boyz. It's a pop 3. So very, very few PSA 10s. It's a little bit like Big Man on Ice-esque from, if you've seen any of those pulled from the recent Skybox Metal Universe release. Both are die cuts, kind of have similar typography and look and feel. The Noise Boys card, though, does have a pretty significant legacy and history in sports cards, though. It goes back to 1988 basketball, where the Michael Jordan PSA 10 has sold for as much as $33,600. I don't think there's going to be a Big Man on Ice that goes for more than $30,000. This card last sold for $5,040 on July 10th of 2022, which was the first publicly recorded sale for the PSA 10 version of the card. So it's a big spendy card. You got the current bid on that one?
$900 US.
Yeah, I could see this one setting a record. And then last card on my list before we get Troy's selections is a 1999 SP Authentic Wayne Gretzky Sign of the Times Gold out of 25 BGS 9 with an auto grade of 9. I'm like personally kind of a big fan of the late 90s Gretzky auto cards. Been coveting those lately. This is a super rare card. There's only ever been 2 public sales of this card of any kind. This exact one in the BGS 99, same serial number, sold for $1,800 US in November 2021. There was a PSA 9 try that sold for $4,200 US on March 13th, 2022. I've actually stared at this card really closely, and I probably spent like 5 minutes looking at the auto. I don't get how the auto is a 9 on this card. It doesn't seem faded. One of the things that we've really complimented PWCC on a lot is the quality of their photos. So you get just crazy good photos, and I don't get it. It doesn't fade. It doesn't go off the card, but I'm not an auto grader either. So 1999, in case you're wondering, was not the first year for Gretzky Sign of the Times. I believe it was 97, but it's a gold out of 25. So, and do you have the current bid on that?
$430 US.
Okay, take a really quick look at the auto.
Yeah, I was looking at it while you're talking about it. I mean, there looks like there's some like little white streaks through it. And it's a couple of spots where there's like these tiny white dots. Maybe that's what, I don't know if that's like, the picture quality is so good by PWCC, you can like pick up on everything. But that's the only thing I see. Besides that, it looks clean, looks great. I mean, color looks good. Nice, nice flow. I don't know.
So the 4 that I chose, would you have chosen any of those had I not gotten to it first? Or do we just think different?
No, I probably wouldn't have actually. Because the Yzerman, I know you're fascinated with. It's a great card. Obviously, I wasn't. You were more of a Detroit fan growing up. Noise Boys, I don't understand Noise Boys. I don't. But I do get the cards look cool. They got the die cut.
I was going to get you that card for next Christmas.
Shoot, wait, I love that card.
No, Troy. No. You like your Hextall stickers?
Yeah, I love mine.
For $25.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, what did you find that was interesting in the PWCC auction?
The first thing I did is I was going through all the cards and I started noticing the vintage ones, and a lot of the vintage cards in this weekly auction that's live right now had some of the best hockey names I've seen on cards in a long time. So I just wanted to read off some of these sweet vintage hockey player cards that you can get on the PWCC weekly auction. Josh, we have people like Odie Cleghorn, Reg.
Oh yeah, Odie. Oh, yeah. Related to Foghorn Leghorn.
Remember right? Odie Cleghorn, Reg Noble, Teeter Kennedy.
Teeter.
Yep. Fern Flamen. I love that name. Bill Quackenbush. And then the best name in these vintage cards is Bones Raleigh. These are all hockey player names. They're all in vintage cards, I want to say before 1960-ish. So I know, the reason I bring this up, it's kind of funny to read these names, but I brought it up too because there's actually a lot of people, I think, that collect cards with unique names or funny names or cool names. So if you are one of those set collectors, there are some out there in this weekly auction. Go look. There's a good amount of them you can choose from if that's kind of your gig and you want some vintage cards too. But besides that, the one card I do want to call out is a 2012 Panini Classics Social Signatures Jim Craig auto. It's a PSA 7, PSA pop of 101, none graded higher. But I'm a moron because I will probably be bidding on this card, so I probably should shut my mouth, but I can't do that. I got to let everyone know about this card. It obviously, if you don't know who Jim Craig is, probably a bigger name in the U.S., obviously, than Canada, but he was the goalie for the 1980 U.S. Olympic team that did the Miracle on Ice and beat Russia, win the gold medal, all that fun stuff. That's kind of why I love this card, because it's Jim Craig and he's in an NHL uniform, because he did not have a very long NHL career. It's like 3 years, if I remember right.
Kind of like Pyotr Kochetkov.
Yeah. Pyotr's coming back. He's coming back. We know we'll see him. So Craig's in a Bruins jersey in this card. It looks awesome. He's got the all white, Jason looking face mask. It has an auto. And also, I love researching this stuff, even with the old, the vintage greatest player to win or wear the numbers. This one, it has his Twitter handle on it. So given the card was called Social Signatures, I looked up what it was about, and that was it. They put Twitter handles on it, and that's why it was called Social Signatures. And to me, that just makes it really, really unique and cool. It's a great.
And that was 2012.
Yeah, isn't that what's crazy?
Twitter.
It was like early in Twitter's. Panini was onto something. I don't know. Now, Twitter's just blown up, and Elon's doing whatever he does over there.
Yeah.
So great card. When I looked at it yesterday, the current bid was $11 US. Don't bid on it because I'm just kidding. If you're a goalie collector or if you like Jim Craig or just unique cards, this is an awesome one because I will definitely probably be putting a bid on it. So great card.
All right. That is our PWCC weekly highlight. Like we always do, look forward to so the auction, I should mention, ends on Sunday evening. So you want to get your bids in before then. And then on next Monday, as we always do, we'll do a wrap up social media post and highlight the top selling cards from the auction.
Yeah. One thing we should mention, I don't think we've ever mentioned this with PWCC. If on these weekly auctions, obviously you bid and you bid before the close on Sunday. And then once that closing time hits, then they do extended bidding. And then it's everyone that's bid has a chance to make another bid. And they keep going.
And no sniping.
Yeah, there's no real sniping. They keep going and going until there's no bids placed. And I think it's a 15-minute window. And if there's no bids, boom, it's sold for whatever the last bid was. But it gets rid of that whole sniping issue. So I don't think we've ever talked about that. But just be aware, to get into extended bidding, you have to bid on it before it closes.
Good point, Troy. Solid contribution. Okay, we're going to move on to... We need to talk about Future Watch autos.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're the parents and we're calling upstairs to our Future Watch auto children and saying we need to talk because there is something going on. And we highlighted this a little bit last show with my very weird, I don't know what I was on, kind of diatribe about the Connor McDavid Future Watch auto. But in addition to that, people have been reaching out to us over the last few months and mentioning that there's something going on with values on high-end Future Watch autos. And we've also noticed a little bit ourselves, but had never really taken the time to dig deep. And, it's like you get little bits of information here and there. And so I spent a little bit of time a couple days ago, hour or two, and really tried to dig into it. And there is something specifically that happened right around midsummer this year where the values have tanked is probably the best word.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to be too strong, but I'm going to go through just kind of the big guys and hopefully illustrate the point. So we've got Ovi, McDavid, Matthews, Crosby, and then Makar, right? I didn't want to look at stuff that's real new because the 2020 guys just came out last summer and there's the newness factor that's hard to remove from the equation. So I thought I would just kind of go through 2019. But we'll quickly rehash McDavid just so everyone who didn't catch last week or may have forgotten is caught up to speed. So we talked about him last week on our show. The example we used was a $54,834 US paid last January for BGS 9.5 and compared it to his most recent sale. So again, same card, BGS 9.5 of $10,600 US. And I think it was 2 weeks shy of a year, 81% drop. The story is actually a little bit deeper than that, though, Troy, than those two sales. If you look at the past 5 or so sales in reverse chronological order, right, and took raw cards to remove any sort of grading bias from issues, and you go back to December of 2021, one sold for $8,500 US. Then in April, it went up a little bit to $96.23. Then it didn't sell again until early this past December and went down to $7,408 US. And then in January, $6,405 US, right? So down. So since that April high, it's down about 33%. Now, one thing in this conversation for everyone to keep in mind is remember these percentages. So McDavid down 33%. Auston Matthews, we'll move on to him. He's 2016 Future Watch Auto at $999, BGS 9.5. Sold at last week's PWCC auction for $3,270 US. And this is the sale that got me to the point where I'm like, okay, we got to dig into this, right? Last April, so it sold for $3,270 US, right? Last April one sold for $77.86 US, down 58% since April 2022. Even a raw one sold for more than the BGS 9.5 this past October at $3,300. This card had hit its all-time high, Troy, this past June. This past June, it sold for, and it was right after the season, right, where he scored the Art Ross, right, most goals, or won the Art Ross. $12,725 US. It's down 74% for the BGS 9.5 since that sale. That's crazy. I mean, I know he hasn't had like the greatest year, but he hasn't played bad.
No, that's either. I'm just kind of taking it all in.
Oh, well, we'll keep going. Sidney Crosby is a 2005, of course. Future Watch Auto at $999, BGS 9.5, last sold on January 12th of this year for $8,560 US. About a year ago, Troy, on January 31st, so again, 2 weeks shy of a year, it sold for $13,400 US. It was its all-time high, so since then it's down 36%. Next guy is in 2005 is in who's got more hype than Ovechkin, right? His 2005 Future Watch Auto out of $999 BGS 9.5 last sold on January 10th of this year for an even $10,000 US. Again, about a year ago, so on December 19th, 2021, a couple weeks more than a year, it sold for $15,510 US, which was also its all-time high. So it's down 36% since then. So we've talked about 4 guys so far. We've talked about McDavid, Matthews, Crosby, and Ovechkin. Aside from Matthews, who's down more, McDavid, Crosby, and Ovechkin are all down like 33, 34, 35%. All right, last guy is Cale Makar. So June 18th, fresh off winning Lord Stanley's Cup and having his dream season, we'll call it, and we're talking about Makar's 2019 Future Watch Auto at $999, PSA 10 hit $4,250 US. Last sale was on January 12th of this year for $2,672 US dollars. That's down 37%, Troy, since June. So it's all like mid-30s.
Yeah,
that everything's down. So that's the data, right? And so everyone now kind of understands what the situation is.
Before you keep going, so you presented the data. I'm going to put this in here because I don't want any messages or emails. When Josh talked about Auston Matthews, he meant the Maurice Richard Trophy, not the Art Ross. Don't send us emails.
Oh,
don't send us emails. And I
did the Rocket Richard.
Yeah, we slip up. Just now, let's focus on. We've got the data. Now let's go to the analysis.
My bad. Okay, so you got the data. We talked about that. So now the question is why and what's happening. And so the first thing that comes to probably most people's minds is, well, just the economy sucks and all the markets are down. And that's probably a part of it, Troy, but I don't think it explains everything. We're seeing record sales for other cards from these players. So it's hard to explain. And again, this is one of the most important cards. Like, we've done a whole hour conversation about how the Young Guns, the Future Watch Auto at $999, and the Cup RPA are the 3 key cards in all of hockey collecting, right? And for all these guys, we've had records, and they're all playing pretty well, very well. I mean, you look at McDavid, who's off the charts, Paul. You got Ovechkin, who's hotter than ever. Crosby's having an amazing season for his age. Auston Matthews is probably the one that's been a little but Makar in the last month has really picked it up. So it can't be that they stink this year. And then, too, you look at, well, what are all the other data points? So we've had a lot of record sales. We know that some cards are up and down. For what it's worth, and people have their opinions on it. I'm not saying it's a all-inclusive summary of the market, but you look at, like, even the last month, the Card Ladder Hockey Index is up 1.7%, right? So there's a lot of indicators that tell you that maybe some of the reason why these are all down is a little bit of the market conditions, but I just don't think that it's the entire story, right? And we talked about they're playing well. You can't say this is an important card. So here's my guess as to, I think, what's happening. Troy, I think it's a combination of the economy and the card market where people are being more discerning. And in particular, what's hurting this card is the out of $9.99 factor. And I think we've seen a little bit of this on the Young Guns, too, with the high pops. One of our themes over the past 6 or so months and looking into long-term value potential has been, we've talked about this word, replaceability, right? Finding cards that are not easily replaceable. So if you compare an Auston Matthews Future Watch Auto to a 2016 OPG Platinum Seismic Gold Auto out of 25, where one raw sold about 13 months ago for $2,400 US. And at the time, the Auston Matthews Future Watch Auto raw was about $250 US more. And the question there is, which is the safer bet, right? You can buy a Auston Matthews, Cale Makar, Connor McDavid, Ovechkin, or Crosby Future Watch Auto any day you want to. There's one for sale every single day, right? But it may take a while and a premium to replace. If you have a Auston Matthews Seismic Gold Auto out of 25 and you get rid of it, to get that card back is not that easy. It could take years and a lot of money. So it gets back to that word replaceability. Now, I don't think all of this changes the importance of the Future Watch Auto. I still think it is one of the top 3 most important cards. It's just, I do think, though, that we're getting now, I think as we're evolving in our own thinking, and hopefully the listeners are too, into some of the nuance that exists between collectability, hobby importance, and value, right? I just don't see that that this card will, of any player, well, I don't know, maybe Connor Bedard, but it's Bedard's world and we're all just living in it, getting to $100,000 card. So when the guy that we talked about last week and a few minutes ago bought that Connor McDavid Future Watch out of $999 for almost $55,000 US, you're buying that thinking, right? The only logical assumption is, well, that's going to be worth $100,000 at some point. And if you really think that through, that would mean that there's 1,000 cards worth $100,000 of the same card. It's just not, definitely not in hockey. That ain't ever happening. So I think the Future Watch Auto is important. I think if you're going to seriously PC any player, it's a card you're going to want to have, no matter if it's somebody who's at the highest of the hype scale, like Connor McDavid, or someone that, nobody goes into our nobody cares segments, right? I'm just not. And so my moral of the story to me, and I'm really fascinated or want to get your input, Troy, see what you think, is I think these are more collecting cards than investing cards. And it's to a point, right? You have to be really careful where you buy in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to buy in for $20,000 and there's 1,000 of these, right? This is like where you go back to like investment concepts and stock market, like market cap, right? That's saying that you're saying that the market cap is for a Future Watch or one card is 1,000 times $20,000. And this isn't a math show. So was it $2 billion, something like that? I'm just guessing there, but yeah. And I think that over the last year is that people started to look at these cards like they're out of 10. And they're not, but they're out of 1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're definitely onto something. I think you've hit the nail on the head with the out of $9.99. You mentioned this about people and their collection journey. This is one place I've totally pivoted on cards. And I think I brought this up to you just in random conversation. I am now doing the 25 and under is what I'm looking at when I look for a card. It's out of 25 or under. Obviously, if I PC the person, I don't care. I'll usually go for whatever I can get. But on a lot of other cards, I am looking at replaceability, and the more rare, the better. So I definitely think you're onto something there. I was trying to think, you said, what would you rather have, the Seismic Gold at 25 or the Future Watch Auto at $9.99? I'll take the Seismic Gold any day because of that replaceability. But I wonder with the Future Watch Autos, this is where I lean. If I'm going to get a Future Watch Auto and I'm thinking about an investment, I think for me it makes more sense to try to find the inscribed, which is out of the first. Is that 50?
Yeah,
but
good.
The only problem with that is I don't think they don't say out of 50, right? It's just you have to know that if it's inscribed, it's out of 50. It's not a thing that's really it's well known between hockey collectors, but it's just one thing to be aware of. So I definitely think the replaceability, the market. I tried to think, is there any like conspiracy theories going on, or is someone out there? Are people trying to manipulate it? I don't know. I don't see. I can't come up with a reason why, unless people are trying to buy them cheaper, obviously. But I think you're definitely onto something, and it kind of follows how I think about cards right now and how I've kind of changed.
Yeah,
I like it. Good analysis. I'm glad we've got to look at this.
Last note I want to make on replaceability, and I don't really have the answer here, but I think is an important point, and is indicative of more work that we have to all go through together in this giant thought exercise of how is value, consistent value, predictable value created in hockey cards. You're never going to know what exact player. I mean, that's always going to be a crapshoot, and there's nobody that can tell you, but you can identify trends that do lead to value. And I do think that replaceability is one of the biggest factors. What's missing, though, from that is that there has to be another element that we'll have to add to it, where it's like desirability. I don't know if that's the right word, because if there's a Auston Matthews synergy out of 25, it's not going to be worth more than a future watch auto.
True.
Right. So the Seismic Gold is a good example because it's a highly desired card, right? So it has to maybe be and this is where I get back to there's more thought and study and research that needs to go into this. But you have to add that sort of desirability factor of the card into it when trying to figure out. And that's kind of the dream, right? We all want to buy something for $300 that we can give to our kids and they can buy a house with it, right? That's sort of the whole concept there. Okay, new product releases. Another kind of first. Well, we've talked about ePack a little bit, but not in great detail. I don't know if we've talked about Upper Deck game-dated moments to this point, have we?
I don't think so.
Well, if you are a huge Connor Bedard stan like Troy and can't wait for next year or subsequent releases coming from World Juniors or Upper Deck from the CHL, this week in ePack, they have a weekly game-dated moments where they're one-card packs for $5.99 US, where they're featuring selected players from the World Junior Championship. One of them, of course, is Connor Bedard. The other one is Thomas Milic, Dylan Guenther, Adam Fantilli, who's getting a lot of steam, and then your guy, Troy Shane Wright. So you buy, it's a one-card pack, you buy for $5.99, you open it on ePack. There are a couple of parallels that you can get to. So there's a silver, like let's keep on the Connor Bedard theme here. That's in 1 out of 10 packs. There's a gold 1 out of 25 packs, a photo variation on a 1 out of 6 or 50 packs. And then on the secondary market, especially the parallels are actually selling pretty good. So a Bedard gold, which again, these are $6 US packs. The gold is 1 out of every 25. Sells for about 105 right now on secondary market. And a photo variation of Bedard went for 200 US. I have no idea if they're, good long-term. And this, I think, goes back to the theme on Bedard, where until his Young Guns comes out, anything's going to sell, right? That has any shred of credibility. And so if you want to roll the dice on buy 5 packs and hopefully, get a little bit lucky and strike gold, pardon the pun, with the Bedard gold parallel or something like that. Or there might be a play if this only lasts a week where I'm sure it's kind of like Wander Franco got with like Tops Now, where there's probably 50,000 of these, but you might be able to get $10 from him or something like that.
I want you to buy one of these and see if you get like the guy that was on the roster, but he was always in the press box because he wasn't good enough to play. They never put him in the active lineup just to see how your luck is with ePack.
Oh, no, they're one-card packs. So like you buy Connor Bedard.
Oh,
so you choose
of
any of the 5 players, Shane Wright, Adam Fantilli, Dylan Guenther, Thomas Milic, or Connor Bedard. You say, I want Connor Bedard, and then you got a 1 in 10 chance of getting a silver, 1 in 25.
I'm glad I asked my question.
I did buy.
Then I understood now. I didn't. I totally missed that. Makes sense.
Maybe I didn't explain it right. I bought 2. I just got base.
Oh, you did buy. Okay,
had to try it. Had to try it, Troy. Yeah. I mean, I can't talk about it without, I got to know my stuff here. Last other quick note on new product releases is 2022-23 Artifacts is still scheduled to come out January 25th. Pre-selling in the U.S. on David Adams for $140 US. We'll be on soon, The Chase, right? Their podcast.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting. And then for $160 Canadian on Cloud Sanchara, I actually went through and did the conversion this time. It's $120. They get a $20 break on it. What the heck, man?
Yeah.
In hockey cards, it always pays to live in Canada. I'm telling you.
So you're just saying I should fly to Canada, do my conversion, buy my boxes there, and then fly back.
Yes.
So
that's exactly what you need.
So for all that time, is it worth whatever the $20 or $40 in savings? No, $20 in savings. Again, not a math show.
Yeah. All right. It's Thursday. It's mailbag time. Once again, we had some really, really good questions. We had some little bit weird questions, but hey, we can get weird, so we're going to roll with it. First question is from 419 Sports Guy from the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server. For $5 a month, you can support us on Patreon, right? And get access to Discord and chat with 419 and everyone else on there, including us. His question, if you had 3 wishes that would come true for the UD 1 through 3 for the Upper Deck Series 1, Series 2, and Extended for 2023-24, what would it be? Or what would they be? All right, I took this very seriously, 419. My first wish is that I get a Connor Bedard high glass. Selfish. I'm not wishing for world peace. I want a Connor Bedard high glass. Second wish, that there isn't a Connor Bedard price increase that makes everybody sad. Right? I don't think it's going to happen, but I know it's one of the conspiracy theories floating around. And then my third wish is there's a killer new insert that makes the hobby go googly eyes and everyone chases it and fawns over it. I have them all. But yeah. Try. What are your 3 wishes?
Well, I'm an idiot and didn't read the complete question. I totally missed where it said 3 wishes. So I only put what my wishes are, which it ends up being 2. So my first wish is that there's a new Young Guns parallel, whether it be the 101 that we think maybe Upper Deck is hinting at or not. I hope there's a new kind of parallel or chase, or maybe an out of 5 Young Guns parallel. My second wish is that Upper Deck comes up with a different name for goalie rookie cards instead of throwing them under Young Guns, because I still think a goalie on a Young Guns card, it seems weird. Young Guns to me doesn't mean a goalie, but be honest, Young Guns is such an established brand, it probably will never happen.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, do I have an idea of a name? No, of course not. That's Upper Deck's job. So that's what they're supposed to do. I'm half joking on this, but I always thought that you come up with some cool rookie Young Guns or whatever, new name for Young Guns. So that I only have 2 wishes because I did the horrible thing and missed the total 3 wishes.
All right, next question from Instagram, Stephen Redmond. Do you guys PC any sets? What was really funny, Stephen, about this question is the day, or almost right when you had sent it, I was just going through all of the 2021 Skybox Metal Universe cards that I had opened and was pulling out the alternate jersey cards and noticed I had 31 of the 50. So I was actually kind of thinking about it. It'd be kind of fun to get all 50. But generally, I don't collect sets. I would also like the Gongshow Grinder insert set from 2012 Fleer. I just don't want to pay 10 times comp for every one of the cards. Oh, I got to add a little bit of story. One little element so after the episode, or when I was talking about that, Troy and I were kind of recounting. And if you didn't catch last week, we had Billy Celio. He mentioned that there was a Gong Show insert. We are the Gong Show. So I completely lost my mind. Instantly went on eBay, searched for Gong Show grinders, found an Ovechkin. There's 2 like in the $20-some range. I got one for $22. Then go back on to Card Ladder sales history and find that the highest sale ever was $2, right? So I was sad. But then, now remember, I had just searched for Gong Show grinders, right? When I was talking to Troy, I went back and specifically did an eBay search for Ovechkin Gong Show grinders, and there's like 20 that are like in like the $10 buy it now range. So not only did I pay 10 times comps, if I would have taken like 4 extra seconds and just added Ovechkin to my, or did a specific search around Ovechkins, I would have saved myself half of the card, but I'm an idiot. All right, Troy, do you PC any sets?
I do not, but I am going to start. I think I've mentioned this a couple times. I want to start doing the top players to wear each number list that we're running. I want to start building out that set because I think that'd be sweet to display. And I've said this before on the show. I've always thought Canvas would be a really cool set, the Upper Deck Canvas cards to collect every year, but I've never gotten around to it. And maybe one day, but right now, no sets currently, but I am going to do the Gong Show greatest players to wear the number from the Hockey Writers article.
Next question from Instagram is Jets Collector. Have you used My Card Post before? If so, what advantages or disadvantages are there? If not, have you heard much about it at all? They did reach out to us, and we set up an account, have played not a ton, but have looked at it a little bit. It's a very interesting concept, and it was a free plug for them, I guess, but they're very nice people, so I'm happy to do it. The concept is instead of paying selling fees, like you pay 13% on eBay, you pay a monthly subscription that isn't a lot, and then based on your subscription level, you can list more and more cards, and then there's 0 selling fees. So if there was a world where lots of people were going on their website to buy and there was lots of sellers, you could save significant money in fees that way. I know it's a very community driven concept. Like I said, they're really nice people. Haven't dug into it too much. My kind of assessment as of right now is it's kind of the chicken or the egg, right? Is that, and it's a hard part of any marketplace, is that in order to truly drive value for sellers, you have to have lots of buyers. And to truly drive value for buyers, you have to have lots of cards for sale. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's their challenge.
You hit it right on the head. I was on the same. It makes sense. I mean, if you were a huge seller and this place could get enough buyers to keep your selling numbers up, I mean, you're going to save a lot of money if you can, whatever subscription fee you're at, you can save a bunch of money in seller fees. But like you said, I don't know what the buying population is and the selling population and all that, but it's definitely a unique idea. I'm glad there's other people out there innovating, coming up with different stuff. Yeah. And I think this just helps the market. And it gives you another place to buy and sell hockey cards.
All right, I'm going to combine the next two questions.
Okay.
Because I think they're roughly driving to the same point. So I'll just read them. And the first one is from Instagram Top Shelf Cookie Sniper 88. He asks, in your opinion, who will be the next breakout stars that will maintain high card values like Ovi and Sid for their young guns? And then Wax the Ripper from Instagram 2 asks, what are the top 3 players to invest in under 23? I don't know, Troy. I just kind of feel like they're the same ones. And I know you did a little bit more work, so I'll kind of let you.
I always struggle with these questions because it's just like if I knew this.
Well, this is actually a good opportunity to shout out the Gongshow Discord, because I think the article you referenced was posted by, I can't remember who, so I'm sorry, but one of our Discord members.
Yeah, one of our Discords. We actually have a NHL prospects section in our Discord, and it gets a lot of traction. And obviously, I did Connor Bedard. I don't know if I'm joking or if I'm just bought into all the hype. Like I said, I bought into the hype. So I'm going to say Connor Bedard, even though he's not played a single game in the NHL. But I love all the hype that's coming with him. But the actual 2 players I put were Jack Hughes. And I put this as my long shot. Now, remember when I said earlier in the show, like, I'm going to get back to, what would you do with the Cole Caulfield PSA 10? And my second player, actual player, not Bedard, was Cole Caulfield for the top players to invest under 23. Again, the article we're talking about, it's crazy. We got this question, and then this article came out the day of getting the question from The Athletic from Corey Pronman, who we've referenced a ton. He does so much prospect work, and it basically was, who are the top prospects under 2023? And Hughes and Caulfield, I kind of knew myself, but I did write down what he says about them. So on Hughes, he says, has been a leading player on one of the best teams in the NHL. Looks like everything you thought he could become when he was a dominant junior player. Electric skater, puck handler, playmaker who can drive plays like few others in the league, despite not having a large frame. He shows up every night, wants the puck on his stick to make things happen. Biggest thing for Hughes has been adding a goal-scoring element, as he's now a legit mid-range shot threat to go with excellent playmaking. He's a number 1 center and a player you will build a winner around. Pretty high praise. And
yeah,
I will take those words from him and run with it and invest in him for a top player under 23. And then Caulfield, he writes, Caulfield picked up where he left off last season, scoring goals at a high rate, being an impactful player for Montreal. Inside the offensive zone, he's lethal due to his skill and shot. Hands are special in how he can manipulate pucks in small areas. And Caulfield is a threat to score from anywhere in the zone with either his wrist shot or one-timer. He's also a fantastic passer. His size and good but not amazing skating for his frame aren't ideal, but he's shown for years he's a power play weapon and someone who can score versus bigger, stronger players. So I like Caulfield.
Yeah,
that's why I put him on my list and just used some analysis from Corey Pronman to support that.
I will add one thing to this little discussion here. And this is the type of question we get asked a lot, right? And the hard part in our shoes is we know that, we're going to throw out some names of people that interest us. We never want to give buy-sell advice. And so the most I think we'll ever do is say, well, these are the people we're looking at. But you look at, people that you might be interested in, take whatever we say with a grain of salt. To me, in these questions, what's more and more interesting, and we've had this discussion, but I think it's worth bringing up again, is it's not the name as much as the methodology, right? That you're using to try to identify people that could be breakout stars and then kind of trying to buy them all, knowing that somebody's knee's going to blow out, unfortunately, or they're going to, get a cocaine addiction like Troy has. Just kidding. Or he doesn't. That's what you're called.
Boy, first it was the gambling addiction of Scott Young, and now it's my made up cocaine family show. Man, we got to cut this part. Family show.
Yeah, family. I'm not cutting it, but he doesn't have it. Okay, I just distracted myself here. It goes back to you never know what's going to happen with any of these guys. So as we've kind of laid out before, what we look at is age. We want guys that are young, 23, 22. The younger, the better, right? We want guys that have a goal-scoring pedigree because you look at like the whole Quinn Hughes thing, right? 3 goals, 35 assists. Ultimately, the hobby rewards with value the people that put the puck in the net most. That's just the facts. And so that score goals, that have goal-scoring pedigree, that are young, that are on a good team, in a market, ideally, that is big, right? So the difference between San Jose and Montreal, I know there's lots of passionate San Jose guys. I'm not knocking you at all. But if you're just looking at this from an investor perspective, I'd rather have a guy, and even in Minnesota, as much as I love my Wild, right? Guy, and then the hardest one to judge is that sort of like mythical hype factor, right? That Kaprizov has, right? It's undeniable when you got 3,000 PSA 10s at this point, right? And he's still in the top 5 every month of cards that are submitted to PSA. So to me, it's a good question. It's a question on all of our minds, but if I could stress to everybody, and not just take our methodology, develop your own methodology, right? And maybe we'll give you a starting point. All right, next question. Really good question here from Instagram, Schwab's Hockey Cards. Is there an actual definition of a short print run? A certain odds or a print run? If there is, what makes something a super short print? I see these terms all the time and all over eBay, which is kind of funny. But is there any actual definition? That's a fantastic question. I spent a little bit of time looking into this. I don't think there is a universal definition, unless I'm missing something and people can chime in or message us. I did go to the Upper Deck website, since this is a hockey card show, and they define a short print as, this is really funny, as a card that has a lower print run than other cards in the set. It's like, okay. So the odds of pulling one randomly out of a pack are lower than a regular card. SP cards are viewed as a challenge by some collectors who look to complete the full set. Well, then I went to the definition of super short print, and I found that it wasn't on Upper Deck, but on a different site. And here's the definition that I found. This is hilarious. And I saw as a print run that's less than a short print. So this reminds me of one of me and my wife's favorite stories. I don't know if we've ever told you and your wife this, Troy, but we were either dating or very, very early on in our marriage. We went out to dinner one night to like a Texas barbecue place. And I was looking at the ribs, and they had a half rack or full rack option, like most places that serve ribs do, right? And the server comes over and is ready to take our order. And so I asked, I'm like, well, how big is the full rack? Right? Because I'm trying to gauge which one I want here. And her reply was, it's half the size of the full. Or I said, how big is a half rack? And she says, half the size of the full.
Technically correct. It's like, technically correct,
but gives me zero indication as to how big this is. And so these sort of Schwab's Hockey Cards, I get it. This is something I honestly don't know either. And it is a little bit mysterious. And my guess is that depending on year, set, manufacturer, there's a little bit of difference to it. And most of the people that use it in eBay are just trying to juice up their title a little bit. Anything to add to that?
No, I know we kind of talked about this, but I would, if I see a card that's numbered out of 25, I consider that short print, maybe under 5 or out of 5 is a super short print. Actually, I've seen super short print on eBay, like SSSP. So I think just figure out what you want. There's no universal definition. Unless there is and someone knows it, please tell us.
All right, next question from Instagram. HOF Hockey Cards. Most overrated hockey card or set? All right, Troy, we'll let you go first.
Kirill Kaprizov, Young Guns, PSA 10.
Oh, you're just bitter.
Who would buy that thing? That's my first one. Second one, Upper Deck Synergy. The logo bothers me. It looks like an energy drink logo, and I'm petty. I've said this many times how I don't like that logo, and it ruins the whole set for me. I don't know. I'm a petty person. Also, this isn't the most overrated because it's not even out yet, but I have to bring this up. The 2022-23 Skybox Metal base cards. If you've seen them, you see the picture in the background with all the little tiny circles and everything. And we actually had a couple people reach out and said, I don't know, something about this card just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Well, guess what? There is something about the card because there's a condition called trypophobia, which is an aversion to the sight of irregular patterns or clusters of small holes or bumps. Not officially recognized as a mental disorder, but can be diagnosed as a specific phobia if excessive fear and distress occur. And then I just said, have fun with those if you have that. And I don't become struck with fear, but I have that. Like I know I get the feeling when I see small clusters of holes, it freaks me out a little. And it's just my hair stands up. And that happened to me when I first saw the sell sheet for the new Skybox Metals. So I think that's just a unique thing. I don't think it's overrated, but I'm sure it affects less than 1% of the population. But it's just a unique thing that kind of popped out, and seeing someone or a couple people actually comment on our Instagram about that, how they just said something gave them the heebie-jeebies, and I was like, well, this is why. But
there goes our Upper Deck Christmas card.
No, they
just shut that one.
They'll be fine.
So again, the question was overrated hockey card or set. I actually thought this was good opportunities, and I've shared this with Troy, but I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast because I have looked into the past, and this is a little bit controversial, I know. And my disclaimer is I like this set a lot. I really do, especially the 2020 release. Loved it a lot. But I'm going to say Upper Deck Premier. And I'm doing it on the basis of secondary market value. And go ahead and look it up. There's not a lot of cards that are worth a lot of money from Premier, especially given the $300 or so US box price. So the top sale all time from Premier is a 2015 McDavid RPA at $199 that sold for $10,800 US dollars this past October. It's a lot of money. I get that $10,000. But if you compare it to other high-end hockey boxes, so you'll pay, it's double the price of a Metal Universe box, and we had PMGs last year sell for hundreds of thousands, right? Or look at OPG Platinum, where the high sale there is, again, half the cost of a Premier box was a McDavid Rainbow Auto for $19,800 US, so almost double what Premier, or even Black Diamond, who, right, this is a 2015 Connor McDavid 101, that's $18,800 US. And again, those are 101s, but I'm just saying any card from that set has the highest sales ever is $10,800 US. I actually personally like the set. I'm just not sure that it's a great investment of any of those cards. Well, we made it through the standard questions, we'll call it. Now let's break off into the surreal, the theater of the absurd. I like these. I don't know if you had time to look at them before, but you can throw in your answers too. So from Instagram, it's freaking Polly, and this is probably to our own demise because we're just going to get weird questions now, but that's okay. What are your thoughts on global warming and how it may affect the 2040 Winter Classic, which would be the year Connor Bedard surpasses Ovechkin as the all-time leading goal scorer? Interesting question. It's freaking Polly. What I would say is that global warming won't matter in 2040, as Elon Musk will have transported us all to Mars and will be living in the Matrix. Plus, if you're talking 2040 as the year, Connor Bedard will have already broken the goals record at least 10 years prior to that.
So by 2030,
5 years?
2030, you got Bedard breaking the all-time goal record. I like it.
Easy.
Easy. We've talked about this. Bedard. Why did I say that? Bedard is the greatest thing ever, and we can't wait for him to get here and show us the way of 100-goal seasons again, or whatever.
Is it the Tom Bernard thing? Is that what it meant?
I don't know.
Is that what it is?
I've noticed a lot recently. I've just been slipping on words, and it's just me.
Your word slipper.
I'm a word slipper. I'm a bonehead. And
Tom Bernard's a Twin Cities radio legend, but anything to add to that, or did I answer?
I like the answer. I like the question. I do not think it will affect the Winter Classic. Temperatures will keep rising, I guess, and they'll still find a way to keep the ice cold. They've played games in Vegas, for God's sake, outside. I think they'll be okay.
All right, another one from Instagram, Big Shot Jr. Do you think Upper Deck should hire me? I could take over the redemption and replacement department. Also, moonlight as a hockey representative. Collectors, breakers, and investors would rejoice. Well, Big Shot, I am not in the position to speak for or act for Upper Deck, but that's one of the best interviews I think I've ever conducted right there. Honestly, I'm blown away. I'm going to step out on a limb here and say that you've got the job. So at this point, I guess every hockey collector or a collector should be sending any card issues, quality control issues, customer service issues they have directly to you. And that's Big Shot _Junior on Instagram. And he's going to take good care of you guys.
Actually, don't really send him all your issues. This is a fun in jest.
He's got the job.
It's a jest. You can send them to us. We like hearing about everyone's issues. We're
lots of Did you ever think that you would hear so much in the last 2 days about the back of a cheddar card?
Oh, yeah. So we talked about, or in our Discord, we had a little discussion about the cheddar because it was all the McDavids, right, are printed upside down, is what we think.
Some other issues
there
too, but yeah.
I know. I jokingly said we need to talk about other cheese cards that we can make and give suggestions. I think I don't know. I like the cheddar. I know it's a silly card, but I like it. I like taking a risk on silly things.
We could match what cheese would go with certain what cheese would fit best with the enforcers or the goons. I
love it.
Like would be like Munster or something like that, and then what cheese for defensemen and goalies.
The goons would have to be like musty, old, moldy, not nasty cheese. All right, stop before we get down
on that note. On that note, that is the end of the show for this Thursday. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please leave a rating or a review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, and how could you not? It's got lots of Troy. We heard about Troy's pirated radio days. Very exciting stuff. And you want to support us, you can do so for $5 a month by joining our out of 99 support level tier on Patreon. Just go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, search for Hockey Cards Gongshow, or visit the link in the show description for whatever podcast app you're listening to us on, or via our link tree, which can be found in our profile link on Instagram and TikTok. And you can join for the out of 99 support tier level, get exclusive access to the Gong Show Discord. If you're not following us on social media, you should. You really, really should. And I'm going to do a special plea for YouTube because it's pretty pathetic. We have more plans for video in the future, but we can't even we don't have enough subscribers yet to even get our own name. It's like YouTube / weird characters. But we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to subscribe, we would appreciate it. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Have an amazing rest of your week, an awesome weekend, and we will chat with you next Monday.